Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Learn GSP with Mahesh. Today we'll look into one of the important aspects in this Mongoose Games, which is one of the case studies, which is an important case study from the Google Cloud Architect perspective. I guess we have gone through this case study in bits and pieces, and there's a specific playlist in my YouTube channel. One important thing which I figured out recently is under their technical requirements, they have mentioned they want to run all their compute on a compute engine or manage instance group. That's what they mention. And specifically in the technical requirements, they mentioned they want it to be run on a hardened Linux distribution. So this is what they mentioned. And even in my cheat sheet, all in my playlist, I would have mentioned you need to have a compute engine, or to be very specific, managed instance group. But we have not gone into the depth of what is a hardened Linux distribution. Let's go through that today. So the requirement here is run it on a hardened Linux distribution. And if you look into the documentation of GCP, the one part or the one part of compute engine which strikes you is nothing but shielded VMs. So if you see in shielded VMs documentation, the starting subtitle itself which mentions is hardened virtual machine. So it's a very straightforward offering, I would say. If you just run it on a shielded VM, what you get is a hardened Linux distribution. So our hardened Linux operating system. So that's what you get. And I just was curious to know what was the release into the release notes to check whether shielded VMs are in GA or not, because the documentation I was not able to get it, whether it's in beta or whether it is in GA. So what I did is I quickly went into the release notes of Compute Engine, and if I just do something like this, go to the top, the latest release notes is last was released on November 8th. If I just search for shielded VMs, what I get to know is there's only two entries, and what it mentions is in July 25th last year, 2018, shielded VMs were in beta. So I don't see anything apart from that because it only shows two entries. So looks like it is still in beta stage, but it's almost like an year, so good amount of improvements would have been done into that shielded VM. So the quick answer is if there's anything on shielded VMs and hardened Linux distribution with respect to Mount Grid games, so the good choice I would say is prefer to provision a managed instance group with a shielded VM. So that's the best option. Let's try to do a quick demo on this. So this is, I'm in my Compute Engine screen. So the name which I have mentioned is very intuitive here. Mount Grid Games hardened shielded VM, and you can create it in any region. It is available in every region. That's what I have observed. So for the demo purpose, as usual, let's make it as micro VM. And the most important thing, how do you enable the shielded VM in your console or in your command line, is this part, the boot disk. So when you click on this change, you will get a small checkbox. You need to make sure, if you don't check this, all these virtual machines, all these distributions are standard one. But the moment you enable it, you will see the icon also changes, more like a armor kind of stuff which protects you from malwares, rootkits, bootkits, all those kinds of stuff. So that's the icon. And one quick observation which I've observed is if I uncheck this, you see lots of Linux distribution: Debian, CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Windows. Lots of them are there. Good amount of distributions are there. But the moment I select this, the number reduces it. It comes to very few, and to be very specific, Debian is not there. So if you see, Debian operating system is not there under your shielded VM. So that was a quick observation. And you have Windows, all the Windows operating system from 2012 to 2019. You have everything. So what we will do is let's go with Ubuntu, and the previous versions of Ubuntu is also not there. That's what I've observed. Let's see whether Red Hat is there. Red Hat is there. Good. So we have just enabled this. That's it, and select it. This will make your operating system a share hardware, like hardened Linux distribution. So that's what we are trying to do now. And another important thing which you can enable the moment you enable a shielded VM is under security. you can turn on what and all the shielded VM features you want. You can turn on a secure boot, turn on VTM, VTPM, and turn on the integrity monitoring. So you can look into the documentation to understand more, or maybe in future I'll definitely do a video on this part. So these are things which you can turn it on, and this will be turned on only when your operating system or the boot disk which you have chosen is shielded. For example, if I just go back and select, uncheck this and select a unshielded, meaning it's a normal operating system like Ubuntu 18. This is what we select. The moment you select it, under security, if you go and see, everything will be turned off. So under security, if you want to enable these options, secure boot, all those kinds of options, you need to use a shielded VM. So the image has to be shielded. So that is a key indication here. So select it, do it, and you should see everything gets enabled. And this is one thing which I observed, and another beautiful thing which I observed, again, that's the reason why I emphasize or praise Google every time. So it's a shielded VM, so definitely good amount of work is spent in creating that distribution. Look at the pricing. So I have used a shielded VM. Look at the pricing, it remains the same. So if I change it to something else, maybe to make it very this thing, what we'll do is we will use a normal regular Windows 2019 operating system. Select it, look at the price, it is $21. So that's what it indicates. Now if I make the same thing as a shielded one, let's see what is the price there. Same thing, Windows 2019 desktop experience, select it, you see that the price remains the same. Even so, I would definitely go with shielded VMs, because price perspective, there's no mayor, it's no difference itself. So, and I want to be more protective, so I don't want my operating system to be compromised. So definitely I would suggest anybody as a cloud architect to use a shielded VM. But the only thing which is concerning for me is it's still in beta. So if you are okay with it, definitely you can go ahead. So what we'll do is we'll just complete this demo by changing the by just creating a quickly a Ubuntu operating system, which is a shielded one. So that completes the this thing. So that would be a complete video. So all good. So let me come to the security, turn on the boot, and then click on create. All right, the hardened Linux distribution using Ubuntu, we have created it, which is nothing but a shielded virtual machine. So if you just click on that, you should confirm that it is a shielded virtual machine, shielded distribution use. So if you just come down under your this thing, you should be able to see it. So you see this part, and this is the main, sorry, not this one, the distribution. Yeah, this part you will be able to see it. Everything is enabled, so that's a good indication that we have used hardened Linux distribution, which is nothing but in this case Ubuntu. So when you SSH into it, you will see a slightly a different screen. I don't want to pause the video. Let me leave it as is. So you will see some status like what's the memory utilization, all kind of information. It will be shown. So this is something which I saw specifically if I am using a shielded VM or a hardened VM. So that's what I am seeing. So you see this. So some information it is putting it. I'm not sure whether this is specific to that, but this is what I observed. So a small observation I thought of sharing with you people. So what we learned today is if it's Mongrel Games case study and it is on a hardened Linux distribution question, there's a possibility that shielded VM could be a good choice. So that's a video which I wanted to share today on shielded VM, or in very simple terms, a hardened Linux machine. So hope the video is helpful. Thank you for watching.